Marshall ruins this week's JMU ODU game with a impressive thrashing of the Old Dominion Monarchs. It's Locked on Sunbelt.
You are Locked on Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked on Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned for later highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, going to give credit to Mama Schultz after I calm down because I still don't have internet in my new place. She suggested the library. Well, public library is not going to work. University of Louisville library will. So we'll see how long I could do this. Still feel odd recording. I do have a little bit of a room, but hopefully I'm not making too much noise for the people out here. Few people trying to get some actual work done. All right, we will go over what may be the new game of the year, right? We thought it was the Marshall Cajuns ball game, or maybe even Troy in South Alabama, but maybe Troy topped themselves with a huge victory over Texas State. And JMU with a win and move on. I do have a take on Mike Desimo. I feel like he was peer pressured, not inadvertently, but transitive property. Scared money don't make money, and he should have kicked the field goal. All right, Marshall takes down ODU. All right, I'm not going to sit here and pat myself on the back telling you I picked Marshall, but I will pat myself on the back because I called it a trap game, because it was a classic trap game. Your double-digit favorites on the road. You got JMU on a nationally televised ball game. Marshall's coming off an off week, had the offense down pat, but the defense was in shambles. Although I think that's more to blame on what the Cajuns did than actually Marshall did. And they lost a tough ball game the way I would look at it. And yet Marshall hammered ODU 48-24, and it just didn't feel like ODU was prepared to play this ball game. These numbers are a lot alike. Carlos Del Rio-Wilson, 17 out of 24, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns. Colton Joseph, 15 out of 28, 266 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. The problem is the turnovers. All right. I mean, you're not winning a ball game when you turn the ball over 5 times. You're just not going to do it. That is giving the game away. Does Marshall cause some of those? Of course. Do they take advantage of what they did? Most of them, they did. But ODU has had an issue all season long with turnovers. This just didn't pop up in this ball game. It started out in week 1. They didn't beat Indiana. They lost to them 27-14, 3 turnovers. Now, in that game, IU had 1, and in this ball game, Marshall didn't have any. But that's 3 turnovers against Indiana, which prevented them from potentially winning that ball game, which obviously would be enormous right about now. And then they had a bad ball game in the rain against Liberty. They had a bunch of turnovers. 4 turnovers. Now, Liberty turned it over 3 times, but you're the better team. They had 25 first downs to Liberty's 11. They had 489 yards to Liberty's 210. You're just turning the ball over. You're preventing yourself from winning the football game. You can't win a football game that way. And so they are not great when it comes to hanging on to the football. And they had 2 great examples of it, and they got burned by it. And Marshall with a huge, huge win. Don't kid yourself. We can go back and look at all the Marshall accounts that I was following and say what a disaster that 54-51 loss and what double overtime was to the Cajuns. Quote tweeted somebody, moving forward, Marshall's in big trouble. Oops. All right. They don't look like they're in big trouble with me. What's going to come up is their quarterback going to enter in the portal and go grab some money. That's what, unfortunately, everyone's going to be thinking about the better he plays. People will tell you, also saw this, why it took so long to figure out he was the guy. Well, they gave everybody a shot. All right. He didn't play particularly well in the first game, right? He wasn't lights out. Again, that's Georgia. That maybe not fair. Let's see what he did. Zion Turner was 6 of 7, 100 yards. Carlos Del Rio-Wilson was 2 of 3 for 10, so didn't play very much. So, and then there was one ball game in there that I don't think he played at all. Let's see. Missouri State. They went with Zion Turner in that ball game. Went the whole way, 13 out of 24, 83 yards, 1 interception. They lost that because of a short kick. Not really necessarily Zion Turner, although he obviously didn't play very well. And Carlos Del Rio-Wilson took over against Eastern Kentucky permanently. Jacques Long played in that one. Didn't pass it for very much, 7 out of 9 yards, 108 yards. But it feels like they have their quarterback. All right. And that's the most important position on the whole field. Period. End of story. Ask Troy. Right? Ask the Cajuns. When you have someone who can legitimately play quarterback and run and throw, it is really impressive. And it's tough to stop. It's tough to stop. And Marshall has that position taken care of. Now, if they can get the kid to come back, now we're looking at maybe being the preseason pick for next season. All right. This season's not done yet. We'll see what happens with JMU. It ain't gonna be Georgia Southern, right? And so we'll see what happens. Long way to go before that. But that's the kind of position they're in. And then they're going to build on the defense. All right. And the defense for Marshall was really good in this ball game. Now, obviously, they turned ODU over 5 times. And I mean, that's a ton. But I mean, ODU is just not, they got 24 points, or I'm sorry, 24 points in the game, 14 points late. But I mean, I guess ODU did put up 439 yards, 266 passing. They did run for 173 yards. So they did get some yards in there. But, you know, the defense came up with big plays when they had to. And again, this game was not close. Again, be interesting to see what the first 3 quarters yardage were versus the last quarter, because I got a feeling it wasn't particularly close. So that's a huge ball game for Marshall. Thundering Herd improved to 3-3, 1-1 in the Sun Belt. ODU falls to 1-1 in the Sun Belt, 4-2 overall. So the college football playoff is probably out of the question for ODU. Can still win the Sun Belt. They still have a game against JMU. They can still win the Sun Belt and play for the Sun Belt championship. That is for sure. I would not be surprised if they rebound. I obviously am not going to believe in them nearly as much as I did 48 hours ago, or maybe 72 hours ago, because I thought they were going to go in there and beat JMU. Not if they turn the ball over. They got no shot. All right. And I'm not sure JMU is quite as good as people think they are. Defensively, they are outstanding. All right. They're inconsistent with the passing game. We'll get into that later. But I think they would have had a shot to beat JMU. We'll talk about that throughout the week. All right. Let's take a timeout. Troy stages an incredible rally. They upset Texas State. Another incredible victory. Come from behind as per usual for Jared Parker and the Troy Trojans. We will do that after I tell you about Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, we're actually going to pick out a moment. Go back and look at that throw and catch between Tucker Kilgrease and DJ Epps for the game-tying score late. Over the outstretched arm of the cornerback, right in front of the safety. Amazing throw, probably a better catch. That is this week's Mazda moment. It was spectacular. when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. So glad at least we're thinking this is going to work. We shall see how long it takes to upload the video. And shout out to Mama Schultz for making the suggestion to go to the library. And we're here at U of L, University of Louisville Library. I live just down the street. And very nice of the young ladies at the desk to help me find a spot to do this, where hopefully I'm not bothering too many people. All right. Troy beats Texas State. We did call this one. All right. For whatever reason, Texas State has issues with Troy. They're not quite as never having beaten the Cajuns, but they're not very good at beating a Troy. And yet Texas State got out to a huge lead in this ball game. This was like 28-7 at the end of one. At the end of one quarter, it was 28-7. By halftime, though, it was 31-17. So they had cut that lead from 21 to 14. And then Troy gets a touchdown to begin the second half, gets a field goal in there as well in the third quarter, make it a one-score ball game, 4-point game. Texas State goes on a 10-play, 70-yard drive, making it 38-27 heading into the fourth. And again, Troy with a nice 13-play drive scores a touchdown. They went for 2 and did not make it. Texas State has a fantastic drive. I mean, you can't do much better than this. 16 plays, 66 yards, 8:45. The problem was they settled for a field goal from the Troy 18. So 37-yard field goal by Tyler Robles. Okay. So if you put that as a touchdown, and I think you have to kick the field goal, I'm not second guessing that move here. But then Troy goes down, scores that field goal, or scores that touchdown. That, again, was what we said for Tucker Kilgrease and DJ Epps. But then Texas State misses a field goal at the end, 42 yards. Kind of in college, that's a gimme. But he misses a field goal, and they go to overtime. Another spectacular catch by DJ Epps. And not exactly sure. I like the play on 4th and 1 right up the middle. I'm not sure about that. I'll have to go back and look at the formation. The one thing I despise is telegraphing the play. Even if you know it's coming, you can't telegraph it, right? If I'm going to run it up the middle, I got to spread guys out. There is no reason why I need to be in a bunch formation or something tight like that. I don't know. Have to go back and look at, but Brad Jackson just ran it straight up the middle and didn't get it. In fact, they didn't get it on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. And so Texas State goes down 48-41 in overtime. Again, I would say hashtag always a bright side if you're Texas State. I'm guessing that G.J. Kinney isn't going anywhere, although that would seem to be short-sighted. All right, obviously he's done a good job with Texas State. A couple of tough losses, though, so far this year. And he's raised the standard there, right? This game is, before G.J. Kinney got there, this would be typical Texas State. There's something preventing them from taking that next step, whatever it is. I don't know. Maybe Texas State fans can let me know. We do have some loyal Texas State listeners and viewers. So I'd like to know what the thing is. Is it just the defense? Is it just it? Oh, and we got to go back because we pick on the defensive pass interference. That's not defensive pass interference on 4th and 6th. All right. Troy got bailed out. That ball was uncatchable. It was not going to be caught. We didn't see a replay. So tough to see. I don't know if he grabbed him, but he made his cut. But it looked like the receiver dove, the defensive back dove, and the ball was uncatchable. It had nothing to do with the defensive back hitting the receiver, which looked like it was either well-timed or after the ball got there. So that was a ridiculous defensive pass interference call. All right. Doesn't change the fact that Texas State still had opportunities to win this, both in regulation and tie things up in overtime. They did not. All right. But yeah, I'm not going to let that one slide. Again, you guys know I hate defensive pass interference. Here, the defensive back was actually facing the ball, and they still called it. We didn't quite see a replay, so it's tough to tell. But live action, I was like, that's not defensive pass interference. He wasn't close to catching the football, and it had nothing to do with the defensive back. All right. So Troy, by the way, is 2-0 in the Sun Belt, and Texas State is 0-2. Oh my. We'll go through one more game. We got a little bit more time. App State does a really good job. They take down Georgia State, led at 17-0 at half, scored 21 third quarter points, surpassing Georgia State's 14 points, and had an easy 41-20 win. Again, it just seems like Marshall and App State are growing up right before our eyes. J.J. Cole, 21 of 32, 309 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Apparently, T.J. Finley started 13 out of 26, 91 yards, throws an interception. Cameron Brown came in, played pretty well, 19 out of 35, although that percentage is about the same. 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. So obviously he played well, but not until it was too late. Cameron Brown also ran for 30 yards and had a score. They bottled up the App State rushing game pretty good, and still 134 yards. Jacquerie Lewis scored a touchdown. Rashad Dubinion, only 12 carries and 56 yards. That's a nice win for App State. Going on the road and winning and dominating is impressive. All right. What's a little worrisome is what's going on with Georgia State, because they haven't gotten better. All right. We've seen App State in year 1 of Dowell Loggins get better. In year 1 in Marshall, Tony Gibson, Thundering Herd have gotten better. In year 2, Del McGee's Panthers have not gotten better. This should be at the point in time where they're competing for victories. And they're not. They're not. We'll see if that is a thing moving forward, but they have not improved, unfortunately. Remember, they got the number 1 recruiting class from last year, or this season, as the case may be, but they just have not taken it to the next level. That class is going to take a couple of years to mature, but it has not gotten any better for Georgia State. All right. And as we're seeing, teams ain't going to wait around, all right, when they make decisions. And I'm sure Del McGee doesn't have a $50 million buyout. Goodness. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll wrap things up with JMU, a win, and move on versus the Cajuns. And I think Mike Desimo was peer pressured into going for it at the end of that. We will do that after I tell you about FanDuel and Monarch Money. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. And Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without even touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. Coming to you from the University of Louisville Library. We'll see how well this goes. I may end up uploading this late on Monday at work. That's probably got better Wi-Fi access than I have here, but we'll see. Okay. JMU, they held up their end of the bargain. They hung on and defeated the Cajuns 24-14. JMU outgained the Cajuns 483-288. They had 3 turnovers. Cajuns had 1. JMU had the ball almost 37 minutes. Cajuns had the ball 23 minutes. Okay. These were not even. All right. Alonzo Barnett, the third, 26 out of 40, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Also ran it for 28 yards. Wayne Knight had a big ball game, 20 carries, 111 yards. Lunch Winfield, tough going, 14 out of 28, 243. That's not bad in the air, 2 touchdowns and an interception, but 15 carries, ran it for 23 yards. The Cajuns ran it 28 times for 45 yards. All right. They averaged 1.6 yards carry. That's where the game changed at the end of the half. All right. Now, most of the time, I am go for it. Field goals do not win you football games. But, and if, for those who don't remember, it was 2019 against Ohio. Or maybe, no, it would have been, was it 2020? Maybe it was 2020. Maybe it was a COVID year. The Cajuns were playing Ohio, and they went for it on 4th down, and if they didn't get it, they were going to run out of time in the half. I think they were up 14-7 at the time. And they made it. And so they asked Billy Napier about it at the end of the half before going to the locker room, and he said, "Scared money don't make money." So all the Cajuns jumped on that. It's a great little quote. Here's the difference, though, between the two situations. Now, I don't know what the Cajuns were averaging for the game or for the half, but they averaged 6.3 yards a carry in that game. At the time that the Cajuns went for it at the end of this half, up 14-7, they were averaging 2.3 yards a carry. Not the same. Against Ohio, the Cajuns were like 19.5-point favorites. So even if this doesn't go well, they're still going to be okay in the second half. And they went on to blow out Ohio. All right. Cajuns in this ball game are 17.5-point underdogs. You need to go up by 10 when you get it. This is not a second guess. Well, I could watch it. You got to kick the field goal. I understand you're huge underdogs. Here's my problem. All right. Maybe I'm the pessimist more than anything else. If you don't get them, they get the momentum. All right. Now, maybe they're happy with a stop and forcing a field goal. All right. Let them have that. But I'm up 10 points in the locker room. So regardless of what happens on the next possession, which JMU gets, I'm going to have the lead, presuming we make a 20-yard field goal. Actually, it would have been closer. It would have been like an 18-yard field goal. And so they should have done that. Instead, JMU gets the ball, 1 play, touchdown, and it's 14-all. Cajuns go 3 and out, and I think JMU scored on the next possession, and they have the lead. Let me see. No, they threw an interception. Actually, they didn't. They didn't take the lead until the 4th quarter. All right. Cajuns in the 3rd quarter, 5 plays punt, 4 plays punt, 3 plays punt. Not great, Bob. All right. Now, I don't know how the game's going to turn out if the Cajuns kick that field goal. Who knows? But let's just figure it goes the same exact way. Being down 24-17, now you only need 1 score to tie the ball game up or have a chance to win it instead of 2. Big difference. You're going to play defensive. You're going to play defense differently. And it's just a whole different mindset. All right. It's just that I'm not sure what is going on there. All right. Saw some Cajuns fans, again, right after the ball game, get all excited. Again, they're playing with, the offensive line is banged up. The wide receiver room is banged up. Running backs banged up. There's a banged up football team. All right. And as good as Lunch is and can be, still your third string quarterback. All right. So that's, again, what we did a couple of weeks ago, expectations versus reality. Reality is the Cajuns are a very injured team, and they just lost to JMU by 10 in Harrisonburg. All right. And maybe JMU was looking ahead a little bit. All right. It was going to be a huge and still going to be a huge nationally televised ball game. And if ODU wins, it's even bigger because that's probably going to stop the Sun Belt from being in the college football playoff. But if JMU wins, they're going to start talking a college football playoff. Do need Louisville was off this week, so you need them to win a little bit more often, so that loss looks a little bit better. Whereas the ODU would have been 5-1 coming in this ball game, and everyone would have been like, they hung with Indiana, right? Indiana just went into Eugene and beat Oregon, so they hung with Indiana. So it was a win and move on for JMU. Cajuns could have been in the football game, but they gave up 3 easy points. All right. I understand the going for it. I disagreed with it at the time. All right, one last ball game. Usually we hold off some ball games, but only half a slate or so. And that is ULM and Coastal Carolina. And this is a great job of showing App State's maturity, Marshall's maturity, and ULM's lack of maturity. They were favored on the road for the first time since 2017. And I told you, winning on the road is hard. That's why Southern Miss hung on for it, win and move on, win on the road. Could have been prettier. Doesn't matter. Get the win, get out. ULM, I mean, this is what the Coastal Carolina offense did yesterday or on Saturday. Samari Collier, 5 out of 15, 37 yards, 1 touchdown. Bryson Graves, 1 for 1, 37 yards. Tad Hudson, 2 of 3, 18 yards. They were 8 out of 19 for 92 yards and a touchdown. You lost to a team that didn't throw for 100 yards in the air by 15 points. And shockingly, you gave up 285 yards on the ground. They couldn't stop Samari Collier. 11 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. Javin Simpkins, 10 carries, 48 yards. They had 7 guys with carries, 50 times, 285 yards. That's the bread and butter of ULM's defense, is stopping the run. And they could not stop the run. Coastal Carolina averaged 5.7 yards a carry. All right. Aiden Armenta kind of had an Aiden Armenta game. 14 out of 28, 176 yards, a touchdown, and interception. Braylon McReynolds, only 14 carries, 78 yards. Total-wise, let's see here. Coastal, 377 yards, 316 to ULM. And the big difference is the rushing, 285 yards to 140. ULM had 2 turnovers. Coastal had 1, so not a huge difference there. But that is a maturity level. That's learning how to win. And I'm not sure if I can't imagine ULM got cocky playing Northwestern, right? That's not something you do. Although they were without their kicker. Then they, that was an issue. I don't know if you saw that. They were holding tryouts. They put out a campus-wide request for kickers on do you have a kicker? Because both their kickers are hurt. That's crazy. So they didn't have a kicker. So that's an issue. Did they? ULM just did not show up as I would expect them to. Losing is one thing. Losing that way is another. I understand there's going to be a winner and a loser, but you just got dominated by a team that we don't think is very good, and yet they have 2 impressive wins. They beat ULM at home and went in and blew out South Alabama. There's no middle ground for Coastal Carolina. They either do the blowing out or they get blown out. It's kind of weird. So we will see what happens moving forward. So is Coastal? Hold on a second. Coastal's 2-1 in the Sun Belt. Okay. So quickly this week, obviously the big ball game is ODU and JMU. We'll be covering that all week long. You can, no doubt about that. Tuesday, though, we actually have a ball game, South Alabama and Arkansas State. So we can talk a little bit about that coming up. Cajuns hosting Southern Miss. Again, a maturity ball game. Southern Miss should win that football game. I guess the line hasn't quite come out yet. It doesn't seem to be. All right. So no line on that one quite yet as of Sunday. Although I think it's got to be out there. Monroe is hosting Troy. I got to think Troy's now favored in that one. But watch Monroe bounce back. App State's getting Coastal. That's a good ball game. We know Old Dominion and James Madison is going to be good. Marshall hosting Texas State. I mean, here, there is a spread on that one. Texas State is a 3.5-point favorite. I'm not sure why that is. That makes no sense. There's no reason why Texas State should be a 3.5-point favorite. All right. And remember, they're not trying to guess the outcome. They're just looking for 50% on one side and 50% on the other. But I don't understand why Texas State is a favorite. That makes no sense. And you do have Georgia Southern and Georgia State. So I guess while we're here, really quickly, let me see if we can find the spreads for them. Let's see here, because they usually come out. Here they are. Okay, yeah. So South Alabama is a 6-point favorite over Arkansas State. That's interesting. All right. App State's a 12-point favorite over Coastal Carolina. That's a lot. JMU only a 3-point favorite at home over ODU. How about that? That's even on a neutral field. Let's see. Troy's a 5-point favorite over Monroe. Interesting. No, Texas State a 4-point favorite over Marshall. I don't buy that. That I'm not buying. Southern Miss a 5-point favorite over the Cajuns. And I think that's about it. All right. So we did get the lines on some of these. I think I got them all. Georgia Southern 8-point favorite against Georgia State. So we'll do what we can. Hopefully this will get up first thing Monday morning. We're going to wrap things up and see if we can get it uploaded. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with me. And we'll talk to you again on Monday, hopefully, as we'll preview, or I record on Monday. It'll be on Tuesday. So we'll preview Arkansas State and South Alabama, two teams that a lot of people had high hopes for that are having disappointing seasons. All right. We'll do that again on Tuesday. So everybody have a great Monday. Hopefully we'll be back. Hopefully by Tuesday, I'll have internet in the place and we can do it from there. All right. Thanks again. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Monday, everybody. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday.